Welcome to the App or Not to App podcast with the App Man, Jeremy Callahan, where we talk about why apps are not a luxury item and are essential to your business success. I've been in the mobile industry for over 20 years, and the question I always get is to app or not to app. Definitely, you must app. Mobile apps can help your business reduce costs, increase leads, and reduce manpower. An app is not a luxury item, it's a necessity. So let's get started making you money. Welcome to the App or Not to App podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Callahan, where I talk about how apps are essential to your business success. I love to give you tips, strategies, and introduce you to people who have achieved success. And this week, I'm bringing you Mada Seghete. Mada is the co-founder of Branchio, where she leads the marketing, community, and developer relations. She's also a board member of the Application Developers Alliance. And she founded an app called Kindred, which was featured in the App Store, Google Play, and it won the best new app in 2013 in Google Play. And the one thing I love is that she gives back to the app developer community. She has a great blog on Medium and lots of great content on LinkedIn. And there's just so much free information that she provides to the community. It's incredible. So welcome, Mara.
Thank you. So excited. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's just get started right off the top. Can you tell the listeners what Branch does and what you guys are all about?
Sure. So Branch is actually a mobile growth platform. We started with doing something called deep linking. So basically linking customers and users into an app. So when you get the link to, let's say, a hotel, an Airbnb, instead of taking you to the app itself, it actually opens the app directly to the hotel that was sent to you. And actually, this solved a fairly large problem in mobile that was introduced by fragmentation. When links weren't working, customers were not getting the right user experience, but it also made it very hard for marketers to measure. So now we built, on top of our deep linking technology, we built all these cool tools for marketers and product managers to both build better user experiences for their users and enhance growth, but also much better measurement between app and the website to help them understand where they should spend their money, how the users are getting to their app, what are the most valuable users. So yeah, that's what Branch does.
Cool. And how did you actually get started creating apps? Because I know you kind of have a background in developing apps as well.
My co-founders and I met in school, and we really felt like mobile was kind of taking off, and we wanted to build a company in mobile. And we thought, we all kind of had this problem of having parents and grandparents that were either really far away or they were not technologically savvy. So we felt we were taking all the pictures on our phone, but that's not the way like our family consumed them. So we wanted to make it easy to take photos that you take from your phone and print them and ship them to, in my case, my family in Romania, in Alex's case, to his grandma who didn't have a phone. So we decided to build an app for that, and we didn't have that much experience at the time in mobile. I came from working for a web startup. I think my other two co-founders had both been in hardware. So we kind of like taught ourselves how to develop and design apps. I was a designer, Alex was like the developer, Mike was doing all the operations. And we just built it and launched it and learned a lot from it. And we really struggled. We were, that like indie app developer that's trying to get something cool off the ground. And, when Apple and Google Play feature you, it's amazing. You get hundreds of downloads. And then once the feature is over, you're like in the pit of despair and there's nothing there. And we were trying to build a referral program where, say, I invite you, and if you come and install the app from my link, you get a free book and I get a free book. And I realized that there was no way to build that actually in mobile because there's no way of knowing where like an organic user comes from, and customize the experience based on that. So in a way, we build Branch to solve our mobile growth problems in the early days, building a referral program, taking users from our mobile website that was getting traction SEO into the actual app, being able to understand where our organic and paid traffic was coming from. So even today, I think there's things that we keep building that are still tied to our like early problems that we had as app developers.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing happen to me. I created an app called Shoe Swipe, which was exactly like Tinder, but it was for shoe shopping.
That's awesome.
And for everybody out there listening, and Mada mentioned this, is my app one day, it was getting like 10 installs a day. And then I got on, it was about 8 in the morning, and I had 600 installs.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yes, this is incredible. And I had no idea how. And it was just because I didn't get featured. I got ranked up in the category, in the shopping category, to about number, I think, 16. And I was just, and so you get these and so all of a sudden, you know, it's kind of, when you create an app, you have to have, you know, it's all about getting installs and where they're coming from. And all of a sudden you start getting free ones and you just think you're the next greatest thing. And then the next day you come crashing down.
Trying to understand what happened and how you can replicate that. But if you don't have the data, it's hard to do so.
Cool. Hey, what's your background?
My background, it's a kind of an interesting background, I guess. I'm originally from Romania. I came to the States on a scholarship. I studied computer engineering at Cornell. So I did electrical and computer engineering, but my concentration was in processor design. I did not end up working for Intel or AMD, which is where most of my classmates went. I ended up going and being a software developer. I actually realized that I don't like hardware as much.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool initially, but like hardware description languages are not. I preferred like coding and like things where I can actually see what, you know, I actually liked front end. So I ended up getting a job kind of like a front end developer for Siemens Medical.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for a year there, and then I had some, you know, my visa didn't go through. There was an issue, so I actually had to either leave the country or go back to school. So I went back to school, and after that, I ended up going more on the business side. So I was management consultant for a year. Didn't like it. Hated this idea that I just advise people. I actually make things. So I joined a startup in San Francisco that was like half in San Francisco, half in South Africa, as like a business development person. And then I actually became the director of product as well. So I led a lot of our partnerships, but also some of our new product introductions. Mm-hmm. I know nothing in marketing in my background. And then I decided to kind of go to business school. And because I kind of wanted to start a company, and I was looking for co-founders, and I was looking for almost like a safe space where I could explore starting a company, more learning how to start a company too. So yeah, where I met my co-founders, and I was, the more creative person, the more empathetic one, and that's why I ended up starting to do marketing.
Cool. Yeah, I did that when I got my master's degree. Basically every project I did during my master's degree was related to the business I was starting at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like getting an education and I was starting something. It worked out well. You mentioned your team a little bit. Can you tell us about the original Branch team and kind of how you guys got together?
Yeah, so I met, I think, Alex, our CEO. He was the first one I met. We were the first two basically, and we were kind of brainstorming ideas, and we applied to this class together. And then I knew Mike. He was my partner in a different class, so we brought him on as well. And we worked together, I think, on Kindred, just the three of us for a while. And then later on, our investors introduced us to our fourth co-founder, Dimitri, who was much younger than us. He was an undergrad at Stanford, and we invited him to come, and we met him, and he's like this kind of really brilliant, almost like kind of a genius. He started coding when he was 10. You can find talks of him on YouTube when he was 12. Because he was one of the best contributors to the whole Drupal community. So they invited him they didn't know how old he was. They invited him to write his username, and he he spoke at that conference to like 300 people, and he was 12.
Oh my gosh.
So he's just like, and he basically joined us before we started Branch, but kind of halfway to our Kindred, so our app journey.
Okay.
And yeah, we're still, that's kind of our funding story. We decided, I think, probably like a year after starting the app, we decided that, you know, that wasn't going to be a really big business and it was a very crowded space, and decided to like kind of start doing Branch in parallel. And then Branch really took off and we found product market fit and we ended up selling the app.
Cool. Hey, I read something of yours, I think yesterday, about you guys were attending hackathons.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Is this true? Yeah. Did you guys ever win any?
Ran any? Yeah.
No, win any. Did you ever actually win a hackathon ever when you went to that?
Yeah, we did. So we used to attend hackathons where we were just us, because it was just like because we were just a small team, hackathons had like so much energy and people building. It was just kind of a cool way for us to spend the weekend. In business school, everyone was partying all the time, and weekends on campus were not that like exciting. People were either partying or were traveling. So we would just go to like, we went to Angel Hack, TechCrunch Disrupt, and a lot. I think we went to like maybe eight or nine hackathons, and we built like in the early days of Branch. One of the hackathons we went to was TechCrunch Disrupt, and then we have this demo app that we use to test things called the Branch Monster Factory. Yeah. And it's the app that we built at that hackathon. It's evolved a lot, but so we ran internal hackathons. We had a few. The last one was maybe 6 months ago. We started like Friday afternoon and we ran it until Saturday night. And we had like about 30 people came, and we had different teams. I led the non-technical team and we came second. We didn't win. But it was really fun. We worked on like very random things, and it was very cool. So we're probably going to continue doing them like probably every like 6 months. It's a really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for like new development ideas and getting things up quickly, and
for people to work with people they wouldn't usually work.
Yeah. So I get a lot of different backgrounds of people that listen to the podcast, a lot of business people and stuff. So for all the noobs out there, and I know you kind of mentioned it earlier about deep linking, but just give us another idea of what deep linking is and why it's so important in the mobile space.
Yeah, so if you think about, maybe I'll start at the beginning. When apps were introduced, so if you think about the web, linking on the web is very simple. You click on the URL and it takes you to that particular content within that website. And in the very early days of the web, all the different browsers decided to agree on one protocol, and they all follow that protocol, and it's a standard. Linking on the web is always the same and is very standard. When apps were introduced, that didn't happen. So the big platforms like Google and Apple did not agree on a specific way to do linking that works across platform. And then other platforms came in and wanted to build their own linking. So Facebook has their own way of doing deep linking. Apple and Google, evolved and did their own way. They have something called app links and universal links for Apple, and they behave differently. So every single platform kind of did their own thing, which makes it really, really hard for a brand who wants to create one link that works everywhere to actually create that, because they need to make sure that they fit with every standard of every place that link could either be clicked. Some places like completely, like WeChat, for example, completely stops deep linking, and we find ways around that. So we call it really a hosted deep link. So a link that you click and it works everywhere. And we take care of making sure that regardless if it's clicked, on one version of Android versus a different version of Android, that those links always work. And that's actually, even when you are on iOS, some apps use something called URI schemes, which is an older deep linking standard, and others use universal links, which is a newer deep linking standard. And it's hard to know which app uses what, which version of Android uses what. So that's kind of that's why deep linking is so complicated, and that's why we probably took off the ground, because for a company to do this in-house, it actually takes a lot of development time to just build links that work everywhere. And not only does it take a lot of time to build, because the standards keep changing, you have to keep updating it. So we have a team that always focusing on testing thousands and thousands of edge cases and making sure that our links like always work in every edge case on every platform. And the reason why it's important is because when you click on a link, let's say you have an ad where someone shares a link to something, and the user clicks on that link and is not taken to the thing they were expecting. If someone shared a song in Spotify with them and they click on that link and that link doesn't take them to the song, then they don't know how to even find the song, then they get a really poor experience. They might not use the app. So those bad user experiences actually mean less users, less potential revenue. So that's why deep linking is very important. It's just basically making sure that your users always get to the place they should.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize that to anybody out there listening. Again, it's like there's so many different platforms, there's so many different phones, everything's changing all the time, and it's just really great what you guys do to make it available so that as a developer or a product manager or anybody else, you don't have to worry about if those links are going to work based on a new version that comes out all the time. So let's talk about a little bit about marketing. So kind of what's your biggest advice you would probably give to, well, actually, I'll ask a different question. One of the things I work a lot with clients on when we're doing user experience and kind of coming up with app ideas, not just ideas, but is sharing loops. So getting people to share the app, actually asking a lot of times you register for an app and you get somebody to pay and then they never even ask you to share the app. So I always emphasize people to ask for the share. And then we also do referral programs as well. So how can Branch help with like sharing loops and referral programs?
Yeah, so we actually have products for both. So the idea of sharing and how Branch helps is when someone shares an app, it's very rare that they actually want to share the app. They usually want to share specific content in the app, maybe some shoes, or maybe a really cool video, or maybe a song, or maybe a hotel. And if you just share the app, that's a lot less powerful than sharing specific content in the app that the user might be interested in.
Okay.
So we actually have an integration with the native sharing in iOS, where we make sure that when you add the share sheet, those links are actually deep links that always work. And they don't just work in iOS, but they work in, if you have an app on Android and I'm sharing with you, and you click on my link on an Android phone, that link also takes you to the same content in Android. And if you don't have an app, it takes you to a website, and, like basically making sure that sharing always works. And then when it comes to referrals, we do two things that are really interesting there. One is we have the ability for you to actually put credits and be able to reward people depending where they come from, and also depending of who they invite. And we're able to track the link at the user level. So when a user creates a sharing link, we don't just do tracking at the link level, but we actually do tracking at the user level. So we know every user, how many links they created, either sharing content links or a referral link. And then we're able to go, and you can go in our influencer analytics tab, and you can see who are the users that are actually driving new installs for your app. And I think that's very powerful, because understanding that can help you understand who your actual influencers are, and you can reward them and give them, gifts and do things for them that might like really make them feel special. And obviously, just part of the referral program, for every install, you can give them something back, like on the spot. And we have apps that do some things that are very interesting, like The League, which is a dating app. You have to be like on this wait list. If you invite friends and they install the app and open it, you like get on the top of the wait list.
Okay.
Or there's this gaming where like there's this really hard games, but for every friend that installs, you get like 5 tips. So So they don't just track you sharing, but they track how many people come, and when a friend installs and opens the app, you get your like, you know,
Your reward.
your reward, your tip. So it's easier to solve the game.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Cool. So like, let's talk a little bit about the future and kind of what's happening. So what are some of the issues you guys are kind of seeing for your, if you can talk about the client you're seeing from your client base and kind of that you're looking to solve going forward?
Yeah, I think it's really the biggest issue we see. So I think in the earlier days of Branch, the big problem we solved, and I think we already solved it, was this idea of broken experiences on mobile, and the problem that, you know, you click on a link and you're not really taken to the best place. But if you can customize the experience, you can give someone a really great experience coming into an app, and that gives them a better experience, and they'll be more engaged, etc. I think these days the next step in that evolution is actually the ability to not just give users a good experience, but also give them better measurement. So because linking is broken, and because people look at links on the web and links in an app very differently, measurement is siloed between web and app. And people go and they measure how their website is performing, and they measure how their app is performing. And no one's thinking, oh, let me look at both of these together. And it's like, where am I spending my money? Where are all the clicks? And then where are people purchasing? And what's the full journey? Like, are people going to the app and to the web and then in the app? Are they just performing on the web? So sometimes, you know, sometimes the app performs much better and it makes a lot of sense to send people in the app. But sometimes there is a friction of installing the app, and in certain places where, you know, like in developing countries where people don't have as much space on their phone and internet speeds are lower, people might be, you might see a much better conversion getting someone to do certain actions on the web, and only very engaged web users might make sense to send them into the app. So that way, that the ability to like measure and target and segment your users across both paid and organic channels and across both web and app is like the big thing we're tackling right now with our latest products.
Right. And then, I mean, you know, most of the traffic, majority of the traffic nowadays to any link is hitting from a mobile, whether it's from an email or particular social media. Anything you see happening with mobile in the next like 2 years, 1 to 2 years? I know it's hard to say, but got any future insights on mobile?
I think the fragmentation is gonna get worse and worse. I think as new platforms are taking off, it's a really interesting, you know, I compared the mobile ecosystem to the Game of Thrones ecosystem, because every single platform is trying to win the users and is trying to keep them inside. So, you know, it's hard to deep link out of Facebook, not out of paid, obviously, but out of organic. It's impossible to deep link out of WeChat unless you really kind of try to hack it. That's kind of one of the things we've tried to do with our links. Because WeChat doesn't want everyone to leave. They want all the brands to create their own, you know, like app inside of WeChat. And coming like for a brand, you're like, okay, so now I need to have iOS app and an Android app and Snap and a WeChat app and an iMessages app and like a Facebook chatbot app. Like I need to have like 100 different apps, and how do I know when to send the user where and how to take them out of these apps? And do I even own the user? Do I have their email? Can I market to them after?
Right.
And I don't think that's getting better. Like the trend is actually, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think finding ways to unify is going to be really important. And then making sure that you pick like one place, one fortress, where maybe it's your mobile website, maybe it's your like native app, maybe it's your progressive web app, but whatever that fortress is, you find ways to take people there from all these other platforms and channels, and find ways to actually own your user, where you don't just interact to them inside a platform where that platform owns a user, but you find ways to own them yourself so you can remarket to them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, it's kind of that app thing too, of getting people to reuse your app, right? Getting people to come
Yeah.
back. It's like always how do you do it? And it's an important thing. Cool. So let's transition a little. Let's talk about some networking and some of the stuff you guys are doing. I know you basically created a whole community. And so just maybe talk about the community, maybe talk about Branch Out.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the very early days, we got advice that we should think about the topic that Branch is like kind of related to and try to do stuff around it. And we tried to think of like what was our biggest problem as mobile developers, and it was obviously growing our app. So we wanted to build a community around that. Um, to kind of bring people together and learn from them as we were building Branch and learn what their problems were. And we started these mobile growth meetups like very early on. I think it was just the founders plus like I think maybe we had one employee, and I think Mike and I just we got our incubator to give us space for free, and we went to Safeway and got beer, and then we called 4 pizza places, and there was one that had 50% off that day, so we got like pizza from that place because we had no money, obviously. And we did a meetup, and we used our connection to get like 2 really good speakers, with someone from Robinhood and someone from Pinterest, and they were both amazing. And that was it. Like we just kind of threw it together, and it was really good, and we got a lot of value out of it. So we decided to keep doing them. And then I ended up hiring a woman called Elizabeth who runs our community now.
Yeah, I know Elizabeth. Yeah,
she's amazing, and she had helped take kind of this like grassroots meetup that I had started and made it like a real thing. Like she helped us go internationally and standardize things and make them very organized and kind of come up with almost like a recipe for our events. We tested a lot of different things, like we tested people doing presentations, and we found that what was best was just bringing a group of like really talented people who work for an app and asking them interesting questions, and a lot of great stories and learnings come out of that. So we now do them all over the world. We do them every month actually in SF. Our SF meetup is the largest mobile marketing meetup in the world. But we do them in New York and LA and Seattle and Bangalore and Singapore and Paris and Berlin. So everywhere, right? So we have people helping us, but we now are building offices in all these places. So this brand, and we built this, and then we took all the learnings. They created the mobile growth handbook. That's probably the best piece of content that we created.
Is that the mobile growth handbook? Is that the one that it's like a quiz of all the things you need if you're building an app?
No, that's like the app launch checklist.
That was
kind of a viral thing that I built together with this guy on my team. The handbook is more like just we break down the 4 stages of growth, from like acquisition to activation, engagement, and virality and referrals. And we go through lessons learned from all these experts on each of them and show frameworks. And it's like a 200-page handbook with like ideas on how to grow. The app checklist is like it's more like this is what you do to launch an app.
Yeah, but it's really good because if you actually click into the items, there's like blog posts behind all of them.
Yeah, we like try to.
So there's good information in there too.
We worked a lot on that as well.
I love your meetup. Like, in fact, I brought my
your Branch hoodie.
My Branch hoodie. Yeah, this is a great one. I think I sent a tweet out during the event, and they gave me a hoodie, which is nice. It's so great. It's nice and soft. I have a shirt too.
I'll be honest. So one of our early big customers was Airbnb, and they were very happy with us. So they sent us these hoodies. There were like 5 of them, and I just saw them, and I was like, I want one. And then I got the Airbnb hoodie, and I was like, oh my God, this is the nicest, softest thing ever. We're changing our hoodies. So the next day, we basically changed the provider for our hoodies. So I stole those hoodies for
well done, because it is very soft. I love the it's soft. It's just thick enough to keep you warm. Some of them are too thin, that you get. So for all our non-Bay Area people there, it's hoodies. Everywhere you go, you get a hoodie nowadays for every company. It's like the thing.
Well, we have a program where if you use Branch, if you've integrated Branch, and if you share how you use Branch in a blog post or a tweet, you can actually win a hoodie, and we'll send you a hoodie. You have to just send us the tweet and or the blog post where you talk about how you use Branch.
Yeah.
And you can get a hoodie too.
Cool. Awesome. What is the App Developers Alliance?
Yeah, so actually I'm no longer on their board.
Okay.
I stepped down about a couple of months ago. The App Developer Alliance is a group that works with, and I was there, I was on their board for about 2 years. They try to work with the government and influence legislation that helps app developers basically grow and be better. So in the earlier days, we were also doing events and building a community. And then the group evolved more to focus on building legislation that helps small and app developers flourish.
Got it. Well, I have a nice t-shirt from them too. I went to one of their events, but it was just kind of there was no talking or meetup or anything, so I didn't really know what it was, but it was a nice space and good event. Cool. So I know you guys are, just huge success right now at Branch, and thanks for bringing all the deep linking that you do and everything you do for the community as a whole. The information you put out there, it's really helpful for anybody listening. Where can people find you guys and get more information?
Yeah, so branch.io, and if you go under resources, you can find all the different, all the different papers and tools. We have a lot of tools, like we have the app checklist, but we also have even if you don't use Branch and you have your own links, we actually have a validator that helps you understand if those links work well, and they have, app links and universal links enabled and all of that. So, and all of those are free. And we've put together some really cool pieces of content on acquisition, on mobile growth in general, on web and app and how they interact.
Yeah.
So branch.io/resources.
Cool. Yeah. There's all kinds of good stuff. I'm just repeating what you said, but I'm a big fan. Nice. So thanks for being on the podcast today, Mara. I really appreciate it. And thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. It was really great being here.
All right. Cool.